Hello my lovelies, welcome back or welcome to the channel. Today's video is all about rose perfumes, and rose is one of the most popular notes used in perfumery, so I thought I would make a video of all different rose fragrances in my collection, and so you'll for sure, if you're looking for a rose fragrance, find something that interests you. And also I wore this top with a rose on it just to fit the whole mood of this video. To me, for the longest time, I didn't get the hype of rose scents. I'm that person. I wasn't the biggest fan of florals for the longest time. At the moment, I like them a lot more. I found my sort of roses. But the first category, because I've pre-selected some categories for you. First category is the fresh, clean rose fragrances. One of the fresh, clean fragrance kind, and believe me, like, this is the category that is hard to get right, in my opinion, especially of somebody that wasn't the biggest rose fan. To me, some rose fragrances for women especially are bland, screechy, just smell like old grandma soap, and they're just not a nice exclusive sort of a scent. But this fragrance changed my mind completely about rose fragrances, fresh clean ones, and it's a Maison Francisco Cajan a la Rose. So this is the one with the green kind of label edge. They've got a couple of rose ones. They've got the Eau de Toilette. They've got, I just can't really think of, I've got another fragrance that is something to do with roses from MFK. They've got a couple, so be careful with which one you choose, but this one is the one that I would recommend the most out of all of them, because although this is super clean and it's got this nice freshness, this is a perfect work fragrance. It's got a bit of greenness to it as well. It also settles down on the skin, and it is more of that creamy, musky, beautiful rose. It's not screechy at all, which I love. This is what I was like, just wanting to find a fresh fragrance that is beautiful, that smells like rose, but it's not screechy, and they just, sometimes they make them just awful, in my opinion. At least I hate that screechiness in rose fragrances, and this smells beautiful, natural, radiant, just full of class and grace. To me, this is a perfect, fresh, clean rose fragrance, so try it out if you haven't already. Another fresh, clean scent is, I've got only a sample of it, but yeah, I need to control myself with my spending on fragrances. This is Byredo's Rose of No Man's Land. This is so beautiful. I've sprayed it here because I've got so many things sprayed on me at the moment. Man, every time I smell it, this is more of a soapy, clean smelling, spicy rose, but that soapiness isn't going to the grandma soap place that I've told you about. It's totally not. This rose is a bit also more, slightly more jammy, in my opinion. It's still very fresh, but it has got slight more bit of like depth in it. It's beautiful. It's still clean, it's fragrant, that spiciness adds that nice bit of interest, but it isn't one of those really heavy patchouli rose fragrances either. It kind of borrows from that, but then it also stays very clean and fresh. So I love that for everyday fresh rose fragrance as well. It's got a bit more, I would say, of a moody, rebellious character to this fragrance. Still carrying on with this fresh rose scent. This one of the Tory Burch's bestsellers, Sublime Rose. This scent is so beautiful, crowd pleasing. I've got this little charm that goes on it, but usually the bottle doesn't come with charms, I believe. It's so beautiful. It's this fresh rose, but it also has got this almost like when you cut a cucumber, that sort of juicy, watery freshness. It's airy, it's light, it's tiny bit sweet as well. To me, this is a scent that I would call like a fresh clean, sexy scent. So it does carry that freshness, but it's also sexy. Like my husband absolutely loves this scent. So if you're looking for an everyday scent that you could also maybe wear on a date with your husband or your loved one, and then this is a perfect one. It's literally, you can't go wrong with this scent. It's so crowd pleasing in the best way possible. It's very beautiful, and I love the bottle as well. This list couldn't be made without one of my favorite and most worn rose perfumes. I mean, nearly half of the bottle of this fragrance is gone, and I wear it so much in the spring and summertime, but even now I wear it. It's the Nina La Rose from Parfums de Marly. This scent to me is the most wearable out of the whole Delina line, and I know Delina is a bit more, I would say, of a best-selling fragrance than, for example, the La Rose version, but I'm telling you that if you have this in your collection, you'll gravitate towards it more. Like, I've got so many fragrances, and for some reason this is the scent that if I need a clean, crisp fragrance that is just refreshing, but it will last long, and it's also very attractive smelling. Everybody loves the way I smell when I spray this. I hope that everybody, maybe somebody hates, but I get loads of compliments with this one as well. This is that sort of a scent. It's Delina, but much more fresh. Think about like the dew on the rose petals. Like, that is what I see when I smell this. It's watery in the best way. I don't mean like it's watered down. It's just fresh. There's this breath of lightness and freshness that makes it so it has much more sillage to the fragrance than Delina, but in a different way. Delina also has got sillage, but it's like strong, intense, vanillic rose. This is much more of a fresh, transparent sort of a fragrance. It's beautiful. I love the longevity on this, because sometimes fragrances with rose struggle with it a little bit. This one doesn't. It's a beautiful scent, and the bottle. If you love the previous fragrance as well, you'll definitely love this one as well. It's Spirit of the Kings, and it's called Aludra. This scent is very similar, I would say, to Delina, but it has got different facets to it when you apply it on the skin. This is a bit more, I would say, spicy, but it's very similar in the way that it smells, I will admit that. But it does have different facets when you compare them side by side, because I have worn this and the original Delina side by side. This is like somewhere in the middle of Delina and Delina La Rose. It's got a bit more substance than Delina La Rose, but it's not as intense. And sometimes I find Delina from Parfums de Marly, the original, a bit cloying to wear in certain weathers. This one doesn't do that. So it's got also the pink bottle, and it's a very nice fragrance. I'll also, because I'm working on another video on my men's channel with Max Aroma, they've given me a special discount code, Monica24, for 15% off niche fragrances on Max Aroma. So if you want to take advantage of that, I thought I would mention it here. It's not a sponsored video, but I mean, why not take advantage of 15% off? And also you'll get a free discovery set for every full bottle purchase, which is a nice bonus, you know, to discover new fragrances. And the last fresh fragrance on this list, this one is a bit different. Maybe you wouldn't think this is a rose fragrance per se. Like, it's not a straight up rose, like, oh, I definitely can smell rose straight away. This is All of Me from Narciso Rodrigues. This scent, I would say it's a rose, but it's a rose with loads of creamy white flowers stemming from it. So you smell mostly creamy white florals, but then you've got that additional rose bit, and it smells very creamy, cozy. It's not as sharp as some of the other fragrances on the fresh list. This is more of this like almost slightly lactonic, fresh, rosy fragrance. So I love it for that. I thought I would mention it. The only downside is longevity with this one, but if you don't mind respraying your fragrance throughout the day, because I know some of you don't, as long as the scent is good, then this is absolutely beautiful. And I love love how it settles on the skin. If you struggle with that sharpness, you don't like that clean rose smell, but you want something floral and a bit creamy, then this is a nice alternative. Next is one of my favorite categories in the rose fragrance world, and it is patchouli and rose combination. For me personally, I love patchouli, but I think you have to really love patchouli to wear those fragrances. They're maybe not as crowd pleasing as the previous fragrances I've mentioned, but man, they are just something else. And the highlight of these fragrances for me is Portrait of a Lady from Frederic Malle. This scent, I love this scent so much. I literally want to wear it today. It's jammy rose. It's fresh, still fresh, but it's very earthy, spicy. I can smell a bit of like coriander in here, coriander seeds. Also, it's got tones of patchouli, which makes it more of that darker, moodier, herbal sort of a rose. There's the longevity, the projection is great on it. It's a very powerful fragrance. I love the juxtaposition of rose being something, you know, usually clean and positive and very feminine, and then taking patchouli, which is often used in manly fragrances, and just marrying them together. They just play together beautifully. The herbalness of it, it's stunning. If you don't like a fresh rose, you want a rose that smells maybe a bit more real, because you get all sorts of roses, you know, in the rose families. And then this to me is much more of like a true, you're walking by roses, and maybe you're going into a forest as well. You've got the juxtaposition of like a rose garden in the middle of like a forest with pine needles and everything like that. This sort of smells like that. Another scent on a designer budget that is kind of similar, it also does that patchouli rose thing very well. It's Cafe Rose from Tom Ford. So cool. This is a bit, I would say, less of a formal scent. When you smell them side by side, then the Portrait of a Lady is just majestic. You think like a huge castle and somebody is just walking down and smells like this very powerful feminine image, whereas this is still that rose and patchouli, but it's much more spicy, fun, a bit younger smelling as well, I would say. Even like it slightly smells bubblegummy. I know, like, it's weird, but it does slightly bits. It just has got that bubbly spiciness. It's still very clean, but I would say if you like something that is patchouli and rose, but you want something a bit more maybe wearable for everyday, for like work situations, a bit more crowd pleasing, but still not basic at all, then this would be a better choice for you. But if you like niche scents, you like to shock with your fragrance, you love just rose and patchouli, then go for this, because to me there's nothing quite like this fragrance. I don't care what other people think a lot when I wear fragrances, because I just love wearing what I love wearing. Another scent that I literally, for this video, I was like looking for my samples. Oh, I've got hair here. I was looking for my samples and I was like, oh, I just jumped up and down. I was like, oh, I forgot about the scent. I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get this scent. I totally forgot about this. It's Radical Rose from Matiere Premiere. Man, this is quality just to the ninth. Man, this, if you like patchouli rose, this to me smells even better quality than Frederic Malle. It's so fragrant. The rose in here, it's literally you smelling a rose in a rose garden. It's so realistic, it's so fruity, it's a bit sweeter. It's got that sweetness that rose flower also has. Often, like when you smell it, you've got this like faint sweetness, and oh my gosh, it's spicy, it's clean, it's just so, everything is right in this fragrance. Right amount of sweetness, right amount of spiciness, everything is just there. And I would say it's more of that rose on the forefront than the patchouli. So the patchouli is there to make the rose much more realistic and beautiful smelling, but it's not trying to overshadow it, like maybe the Portrait of the Lady. They're both like rose and patchouli are very strong and they're playing together for that strength, whereas this is much more of a rose being that dominant lady in the scent. Man, this is, you have to try it. Let me know, by the way, what is your favorite rose fragrance ever. I want to get some suggestions, and for people watching also, it'll be interesting for you to let us know if you agree with any of my picks, or maybe you've got some other better ones. The last category I've chosen, and this is only from my collection, so you know, maybe in the future I'll do like a separate video of like rose fragrances that I really appreciate but I haven't bought yet. This is more of a moodier, sexier sort of a rose. This is a vampy, intense rose. One of those fragrances is Noir de Noir from Tom Ford. This is rich red roses, chocolate. It also has got patchouli in here. The patchouli is much more of this like nuttier sort of a patchouli that just plays together with the roses, with the dark chocolate. It's vampy, it's sexy, it's very, I would say it's for somebody who wants to smell very confident, and it's not a fragrance for the faint of heart. It's definitely like a conversation starter sort of a fragrance. Amazing from Tom Ford, and it's meant to smell like a date, like a very romantic date, and it does. To me, this is a perfect date, moody, sexy, vampy fragrance. Next up is another rose that is so strong. This is again a sexy, dark, syrupy rose, and it's Atomic Rose by Initio. Man, this scent, although I can totally get this, it's still like a pink rose in my mind when I smell it. It's not like a jammy rose, it's like a pink clean nose rose, but it's syrupy. It's just kind of just taken and put like in a syrup and stamped on, and it's dark and sexy, and it's got this kind of like a latexy, weird plasticky smell as well, this fragrance, which makes it, you know, a bit sexual, I would say. It's very different, so strong. You've got a bit of that coffee note in here as well. It's very special. It's again something that you wear because you like that shock factor, that intenseness in a fragrance. It's very compliment getting. To me, this is like Delina, but taken and made like a super dark version, emo version of Delina. This is what this fragrance is. Super fun. I'll link also samples of these, so if you want to like sample a couple of them at home, then go for it as well, because I know that not everybody is like, oh, I'm definitely going to buy that one fragrance. And another one, to me this is a sexy fragrance. This one is not as, I would say, dark, but it definitely has got that sensualness in the rose. This is Covered from fragrance Bois. And to me, this fragrance is very Moorish for some reason. I love, like, when I spray this, I always find myself going back and back and back again to respray it. This is this rose that is creamy, a bit coconutty. It's got cinnamon, spices, it's ambery. So it's more of this sexy sensualness, but this like gentleness to it. So this is not as like the other ones are kind of like strong in your face. This is sensual, like ladylike sensualness, and then it's got this really nice base of this like leathery woods as well, which I love. This, the dry down is absolutely beautiful in it. It's also got some citruses at the top. It's a very bright but very sensual rose, which you don't get often, of that combination of the rose still being quite light, but then it's very kind of, you know, sandalwoody, coconutty. It's beautiful. Very, very nice. If you love rose, hopefully you found at least one fragrance that you thought, I will check out that one on this list. If not, let me know what other rose fragrances I should check out. Follow me on Instagram at Monica_Cioch, CIOCH, where I post a bit more about fashion and luxury and fragrances as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.